plant-based psychedelics have always existed in nature, and now rabbis and scholars are exploring the topic of this so-called second psychedelic revolution, which is addressing individual and generational trauma amongst Jews and others. I went up to Sfat and had a chance to have a long, in-depth conversation with Rabbi Amichai Cohen of Live Kabbalah. Here's more. We are now on the outskirts of Sfat with our very own Rabbi Amichai Cohen of livekabbalah.com. Hello, hello.
Hey, Emily, how are you?
I'm good, I'm good. So why are we in the middle of this beautiful forest and nature? I know this is a very spiritual place for you personally.
It's always good to be in nature. It's actually one of the most healthiest things that we could do is spend more time in nature, spend more time connecting to ourselves, right? It's what the Baal Shem Tov did, went out into nature and talked to God and connected to himself.
So you just recently wrapped up a course that was very popular, delving into topics that we don't usually talk about in Judaism, but a lot has to do with things that are grown in nature and the whole mystical experience.
I've come in contact with so many people that their lives were transformed by the use of an ayahuasca trip or other forms of psychedelics. And I remember I picked up this book, How to Change Your Mind, in the airport, and I read through it. And it got me to think, what is Judaism essentially all about and what is life all about? It's about how do we change our minds to connect to really who we are inside and to God, right? The universe, to each other, have more compassion, have more love. And I was fascinated by this subject and what Judaism has to say about it. And what's fascinating is that it's more about the integration than anything else. And the integration is so found in Judaism, in so many of the practices of the teachings, especially the mystical, Kabbalistic teachings of Chassidut, right? Again, the Baal Shem Tov, going and connecting to nature and speaking to God. We did the course together with Madison Margolin. She's writing a book on the subject, and she's pretty much an expert in the field. We wanted to collaborate, in other words, understanding what trauma is, specifically Jewish trauma, and how so much of the healing, that goes on is really tapping into our trauma. So we opened up a lot of very interesting discussions into what the mystical experience is about, what is mysticism, what is the goal of it, right? How do we define a mystical experience per se? And then we went into plant-based medicine, and how that is healing and how that is actually proven to help so many people in so many phases of their lives. You teach Kabbalah, we believe in Gilgulim and reincarnation and all of that. So when we're saying the Jewish trauma, many people alive today are walking around with traumas that they don't even know why, that could have been from 4 generations earlier. What is generational trauma, right? Epigenetics. It's essentially the way one father or mother, right, the parents, the way that they were wired in raising their kids. And the way they knew to educate their kids is what they gave over to their kids. So now these kids now continue what they've been taught. And those beliefs and the way to educate their children now is based on that. And that perpetuates itself unless we actually pause and we try to rewire ourselves. I think that this is what we're doing now. This is our generation. This is a generation where we have so much access to so much knowledge, and we have the ability to change. And if we don't change, then we are, we're feeling it. We're feeling this angst. So the change really has to happen. And so that's why I think the discussion of psychedelics is coming out in such a huge way now. We're being taught by the Creator all the time. He's sending us messages. And I think part of the psychedelic experience is that one is able to see the interconnection of God in the present. Back in the 60s, there were a lot of people going in that route, the Beatles going to India. People were trying to find that transcendent experience. Why is it so important now that the Jewish people are finding out that we could find it within Judaism? Exactly. So I think that's a really great point. So it's called actually the second psychedelic revolution. And it's coming now after there were the hippies and then there were the yuppies, right? And then it continued to Generation X. But here we are again. And the human experience is in need of a connection to who they are in their core, in their truth, right? That divine interconnection, it basically is being one world, and we are one people, one humanity connected to, right, to a greater mission. Our great sages said that we need to spread these teachings of the inner Torah to the world. And the Arizal said this 500 years ago. It's like, we need this now because the world is unsustainable. So without going deeper and learning about this, our inner makeup, the spiritual makeup, then, you know, we can't live in a world that we call a world of redemption. The world is a garden, is a beautiful garden for Hashem, for God, and He wants us to reveal it. And to make that place, make this world this place of dwelling of His essence in the world. When you strip down the layers, at the end of the day, this is our reality. And this is what's coming out in the psychedelic revolution. And it's totally in sync, in harmony with our need to spread these teachings.
Rabbi Amichai, thank you so much for sharing this very interesting journey, and keep up the good work.
Thank you, thank you.